morning, students, parents, church family, heck, anyone who's watching. I hope you're doing well this morning. Hope you had a great Easter weekend. It was just a different, not physically gathering at the church, of course, but I hope you had a great time with your family celebrating the fact that He is risen, Resurrection Sunday, and the gift of love that He gave us through offering His life for us. That while we were still sinners, He died for us. And so I hope you had a great Easter weekend. Picking up today with part 4 of our devotion. I've called it Ramblings from the Kitchen Table just because I didn't have any clever name for it, and that's what I was doing. I was sitting at the kitchen table, and God was just kind of showing me some stuff as I was studying. So that's what we named the devotion series, and each of the 4 little parts of the devotion have started with letter G, alliteration there. So part 1 was the gospel. We talked about the balance of the gospel. Part 2, we asked the question, why so good? Asking the question based off of why do we call Good Friday good, and wanted to get a little bit of feedback from you. Saturday was one of the greatest, what made Jesus the greatest. Talked about His resolve, intentionality, and purpose as He set His face toward Jerusalem. And today we will talk about, today we'll talk about the idea of our highest goal. And so I have to ask a question this morning just to get you thinking. What are some of your goals? What are your highest goals? Your biggest aspirations, your biggest dreams? What are those for you here in your life? Excuse me. So just ask that question. What are your biggest goals? And so I want to stop for a moment and just allow you to think about that. What would you say is your biggest goal or biggest goals? You can list a few in your mind, a couple, 2, 3, 5. Hope you have something in mind by now. Some of your biggest goals. As I was thinking about Easter, this was the point, what's the best way to put it? The truth that God was teaching me so clearly as I was thinking about and preparing for this little devotion series is to reevaluate what is my highest goal, and to challenge you students and parents to think about what are you seeing as your highest goal. So really great question to ask. I think it's a very appropriate question to ask considering we're celebrating Easter, just got through Easter weekend, Resurrection Sunday. And if you have been in any youth group that I've had the privilege of leading and serving, you've heard me talk about this verse quite often, Ephesians chapter 5, verse 1. And it really encapsulates, I believe, what should be our 2 highest goals for every person. It says, as dearly loved children, we should be imitators of God. As Ephesians 5:1, as dearly loved children, be imitators of God. And it goes on to say in verse 2, the context and the idea is to live a life of love, to give, to serve, to let our lives mirror the life of Jesus, who gave His life as a sacrifice of love, a fragrant offering to God. And so in Ephesians chapter 5, verse 1 and 2, I believe we can see the 2 highest goals that every one of us should have. And so I want to challenge you to think about that this morning, that we should offer our lives as God's child and imitate Him. And so what are the 2 highest goals I think we should all have? And it's really, I think, simple for us in theory. Number 1, as a dearly loved child, we first and foremost need to have our identity as a child of God. Thinking about that identity question right now, oftentimes we label or describe our identity with 3 questions. Who we are, what we do, and where we go. Who we are, and if someone were to ask you that question, who are you? You would say something, a student, you might say something, I'm the child of, and you might name your parents. What you do. Students who are working, parents who are working, you might answer that question, what we do, by saying, I work for, or this is my profession, I do this. Students, you might answer the question, where we go, by saying, I'm a RCHS Tiger, I'm a Woodland Bobcat, I go to Southern Union. And so oftentimes we answer the question of identity with 3 fill in the blank on one of those three questions: who we are, what we do, or where we go. I want to challenge you and have you think for a moment this morning about this idea, that our identity should be not in who we are, what we do, or where we go, but should be in the fact of whose we are. We are a child of God. We are His. And so our highest goal for every person should be to be a child of God that, let's make sure you get the second part, honors Him with our life. I think that's the heart of this verse. As dearly loved children, be imitators of God. And so we're to be a child of God that imitates God, or we should be a child of God having our identity in Him and honoring Him with our life as we imitate Him. Paul would say it this way. He would say, follow me as I follow Christ. And so are you, student, are you, parent, living a life that imitates God in such a way, that imitates Jesus in such a way, that if people were to look at you, they would know first and foremost your identity as a child, and they would know, secondly, that your life's main focus is to honor God as you imitate Him. So your highest goal, I asked that question just a few minutes ago. What are some of your goals? What are some of your dreams? What are some of your aspirations? I want you to think about it for this just a few moments this morning, and maybe continue to the rest of the day, the next few days, because I think it's only appropriate, because in Ephesians chapter 5, verse 1 and 2, verse 2 talks about the whole idea of Easter. All right, that Jesus gave His life as a gift of love, a sacrifice to God. And so in view of the Easter reality, and Levi Lusko had a wonderful quote yesterday as he was preaching, that Easter is not a holiday, it's our identity. That's who we are, that shapes us and makes us as Christians, is the fact that we can be alive and well in Jesus because He's alive and well. That we can experience eternal life because of the resurrection, the conquering of death and the grave. And so I would encourage you so much this morning to stop and think, reevaluate those goals, and say, first and foremost, is having my identity as a child of God, whose I am, the top of the list. And just as I think on equal plane is then my life desiring to imitate Him. So identity in Christ and a desire to imitate Christ should be our highest goals. Hope you have a wonderful day. Love you guys. I miss you, and we will talk soon.